The subject matter is really based around my fascination with this type of body modification practice called scarification. Scarification is just the practice of creating a permanent scar by cutting or making an incision into the skin and adding foreign materials into the wound. Typically, those foreign materials could consist of clay or ash or anything that they would have, and then allowing it to heal. So the scars that remain, they form bumps called keloids, and they are created in series to form complex and delicate patterns over a large surface area of skin. Typically practiced amongst dark-skinned ethnicities in Africa, Melanesia, and Australia. And because I'm of African heritage, I am typically researching scar patterns seen throughout the different African tribes. Making these pieces that are that middle ground between abstract and really realistic figurativism, it's kind of like a nice combination of, like, you don't really know what you're looking at. It's like, is that a body part? But it's really like pleasing to the eye because it has a lot of curves and round edges, and it does look sensual and resembles the nice curves that the body does have. I am attracted to soft organic forms. My family is sort of traditional and conservative, so it's kind of challenging for me to express myself and just be my true self. I tend to channel that energy into clay and kind of envisioning myself as that kind of tribe member designing and decorating skin. I feel as if I'm preserving a cultural tradition. I just kind of want people to recognize and appreciate the beauty and strength of my people. Like, my work is almost like a tribute in a way as well. It's really about just preserving the cultural tradition.
I get the inspiration from the flowers, especially like different form of the flowers. Some are like blooming flowers, some are dead flowers, and I use the inspiration to create the sculptures, and then I decorate the surface with the very thick color slip with the palette knife. I've been trained as like art student, and I've been learning you use the palette knife to paint for 3 years. So I get used to use the palette knife, and I like the thick slip can be used as like the oil painting, and it works pretty well. So I decided to use it to create like the surface decorations, and you can sort of create like the very thick and dimensional effects on the surface, and I think that's pretty fun. I basically just use the clay and then blend it with the water, dry it out slower, and I add the color stain into it. And I've always fire it very slow because like the slip is very easy to crack, so I always fire it very slow. And then after that, I fire the glaze firing. I normally just apply like a very thin layer glaze on it because I don't want it to be very glossy.
When I started Sheridan, I didn't know anything about clay, so it was definitely a big learning curve, but throwing is definitely where my making process begins, and it's the first thing that I fell in love with clay. When I'm throwing, for the most part, I have an idea of what I want coming out of that process, but when I'm glazing, I want the glaze to be able to take over whatever I put on. So I have layered information of both texts and writings along with the different drawings that I've done. The writing is a lot of my memories or my thoughts, quotes I've read, even sometimes conversations I hear around me while I'm making. Just different things that I'm feeling or what's happening. I use the glaze to hide that in a way to represent the fading of memories and dreams. But also I use it because I want those things to remain mine. I more recently this semester discovered the word palimpsest, which means the layering of new information on top of old information. Historically, it's used when there was a scroll that had information on it and somebody needed to reuse that, they would paint over it. But parts of the old information would still come through that. The way I use it is layering like the information in the glaze and floral decoration. Part of the function aspect is, okay, so I've created this thing and I have put pieces of me into it, and now somebody else takes it and they're using it and they have this different connection to it. And I really like that concept. Graduation for us is not like a big deal. It's the Gardiner that is our graduation. Like, this is what we've done, and it makes you think of like where you started. Like, I think about in first year when we went to the Gardiner and seeing all the pieces and me being like, how am I supposed to be able to do this in 4 years, and how am I supposed to figure out how to make work that's actually presentable? And I remember thinking that that wasn't going to be a thing that I could do. And now it's like, yeah, I'm ready.